No one knows where I go. No one knows I'm out your door. No one knows where to lie when you say it all for from above. But I know no one knows how to see. No one knows how to be free. No one knows how to see when you say it all for from above. But please come help and save me, please. No one knows how to try. No one knows how to lie. No one knows where to try when you say it all for from above. But please God help and save me, please. And we find nothing will be the same. And we find nothing will be the same. Nothing left to gain, nothing left to lose. When you told me that's where I'm gone. Nothing left to gain, nothing left to lose. Baby, please just tell me that where I'm gone. Nothing left to gain, nothing left to lose. Tell me that we're through.
All right, welcome to UT Uncut, your source for student musicians, filmmakers, and all things uncircumcised. I am your host, Tom Abernathy. That was John Strollo playing his song No One Knows. We'll be hearing more from him shortly. Right now, I'm joined with our guest, David Alcorn. David, thanks for coming on to the show with us.
My pleasure.
Now, David is the host, the founder of the SOMA organization, and that is the Society of Media Arts. Now, David, why don't you tell us about your graduate study here and why you came back to the University of Tennessee?
Okay, well actually I began in an environment sort of like this, studying to be more a part of mass media, and really I had designs on Hollywood at first, but
Don't we all?
Exactly. A few years of semi-fruitless freelance work kind of freed me of that, sort of disillusioned me, and I ended up working in the corporate world for a few years. And so getting laid off from there, I wanted to get back and try to get back into study of media, but take it more from a fine art perspective. And so then I came on, and at the University of Tennessee, we have in the School of Art, it's not designed to go by specific media anymore, such as photography or sculpture, but it's designed, it's divvied up into 2D, 3D, and 4D. So I went to 4D, which is time-based art. So it's film and video and any sort of moving image type art.
Now, are you working on any sort of thesis, or are you at liberty to say that yet?
Thesis is actually next year. I am working out my idea. I'm going to attempt to do, I think, a longer form, not necessarily feature length, but a longer form film or video, probably dealing something to do with revolutions, which is a big, I'm very much into political science as well. And of course, this year is turning out to be pretty big for
all over the place.
Right, with the Arab uprisings and whatnot. So I'm very interested in revolutions, how they may not turn out quite as planned, if such a thing can be planned, but and greater implications beyond that. So I'm looking at something something along those lines, but of course with a little more personal take of it.
Are you kind of gonna focus? Sorry if I'm somewhat going in a political sense here, but are you gonna be focusing on kind of more domestic issues? So you're talking about U.S. policy at all?
I think so, but with maybe just worldwide in the background. Some of these things are ideas that'll be in the background for what would appear to be like a more personal or intimate human story of just human interaction.
Okay. Now you have been involved in the starting of the SOMA organization. Why don't you tell us about that a bit?
SOMA is the Society of Media Arts. This was actually put together originally to help handle the Handheld Media Festival, which is the end of every semester festival for the School of Art. All of the time-based media students, instead of taking final exams, we actually screened at a film festival, which is more pertinent to what our careers hopefully would end up being anyway. So SOMA was designed to do that, but actually last spring of 2010, we became an officially recognized student organization. So now we're branching out, having some screenings on our own for our members just to further our own learning. Last fall, we were able to get funding from the Cultural Affairs Board and bring in Kaveh Haiti, who's a well-known filmmaker from New York. So that was our first sponsored event, and we've put in funding for next fall as well. So hopefully we'll begin a trend to bring in some more media artists and really enrich the program here.
And when exactly did this, or the origins of this program, when did everything kind of get going? How long ago was that? Well,
it originally got going back in, I think, spring of 2008. It was Professor Norman Magden, who is one of the architects of the redesign into a 4D, 3D, 2D organization, came up with the idea for this student group and just pulled a few of us aside and said, hey, I'll give you some extra credit if you'll take this and run with it. And so since then we have run with it, and it's sort of expanded from this basic idea of designing some advertising material for the festival to try to get the general student population involved to a much greater, like it's sort of its own thing to try to enrich the program by bringing in artists, trying to sort of generally further the appreciation of media as a fine art, which is, of course, that's one of the areas of the arts that's really, I think, steamrolled by commercialized versions of it, probably even more than what Thomas Kincaid does to painters, for instance. So it's our little effort anyway.
Now, it's obviously come a long way since its inception. Where do you see it going from here? Or where would you like to see it go from here? Well,
ideally we would continue bringing in more artists. Ideally, I think we would work together a little more. We do try to make ourselves available to each other. In other words, like we sort of agree as SOMA members that if someone needs a hand for one of their productions to help out, I think that's an aspect that we could probably do better. We could probably increase our size and really have a cohesive organization that is more of a well-oiled art-making machine, if you will.
And this festival or screening that you have kind of at the end of every semester, do you want to give us a little bit more information about that so our viewers can possibly check it out?
Yeah, certainly. It takes place during the Saturday that falls during the exam period every semester. So this semester it's going to be Saturday, May 7th.
Okay.
It's at 7 o'clock at Regal Downtown West, Cinema 8, which is, of course, on the west side of town, close to O'Charlie's and Target and the mall. Downtown West is actually really fantastic. It's the closest thing to an art cinema that we have. Regal, I believe, runs it at possibly even a loss so that they can have at least one theater that's not loaded down with the recut 3D Justin Bieber movie.
Oh, yeah.
So they can play some other things. But they're gracious enough to let us have a screen for the night. And so it's a great chance for us to see our work on really the biggest screen that you can get.
Well, it's great for them, and students, be sure to support that movie theater since they're supporting our local filmmakers. Now, we're actually going to be taking a look at a couple of your pieces, the first being Schizophrenia, which is an art piece, definitely. Tell us a bit about that. Were you trying to make a self-reflective statement at all, or is it more just kind of an experiment?
Yeah, it wasn't so much self-reflective. It was really just taking the idea of what would it be like visually to experience schizophrenia. I do have a family member that's a diagnosed schizophrenic, and so I talked to him some, but I sort of tried to push that in the background and then sort of just use what I'd gleaned indirectly. And I took some inspiration from Ed Inchwiller's Thanatopsis, which is one that you can find by Googling, actually. But it's a film that was really about a man's internal torment, but portrayed visually. And so for this piece, of course, I went sort of my standard route and shot a narrative version at first, And I showed it and basically said, no, it just doesn't work, because it was me trying to sort of verbally explain it. And then instead I recut and tried to really break it down to its most basic elements and just use, of course, myself.
Now, for me, because I had the pleasure of listening it into my headphones, so I was able to block everything out, sound seemed like a major factor of me. It really kind of set the tone of the piece for me. How did you go about with the sound for the piece?
The sound was actually fairly simple. I have, what I do for a lot of pieces is take some sound effects CDs or CDs that have music tracks, not necessarily music, possibly just some filler that's intended for, you know, anything from corporate video productions to dramatic productions, and try to repurpose it. Often I'll mess with it. I'll take it into Final Cut Pro or Soundtrack Pro or something and just, you know, maybe play it backwards, slow it down, kind of break it up. And in this piece right here, I was really thinking in terms of like the mind or the spirit breaking into different pieces, and schizophrenic, like a schizophrenic, like at least being broken into. So I was thinking more conceptually as far as taking this music, breaking it from what it is and for what it was intended to do originally, and repurposing it for this video.
Now, your other piece that we're going to be highlighting, A Death in Knoxville, that has a more narrative format, and it focuses on James Agee, Knoxville's own. And would you mind, for our audience, telling the difference between the fact and kind of what you fictionalized about that story?
Right, yeah, well, what I tried to do here actually was look at the different media representations of it. So, of course, James Agee is, or was, I suppose, a well-known local author. His father died tragically when he was young, actually right, you know, in Knoxville. And so when he was an adult, he wrote the book Death in the Family, which went on to win the Pulitzer Prize, I believe. And it was, of course, heavily influenced from his experiences with his real-life father's death. So what I did was I went out actually to the bar right next to the road where the car wreck happened that killed his father, and shot some 16mm film there, and talked to some of the bar patrons. Just said, hey, I'm going to be out in your parking lot, you know, shooting just to document this location. Right. And so I also went to the James Agee Park downtown, which is, you know, a piece of the city that's designated, you know, in honor of Mr. Agee. So for this piece, I took those plus a made-for-TV movie of it, and really I was trying to mix and match and compare this idea of something that really happened that was then remediated into a book that then, conversely, because of its popularity, made a piece of land, in a sense, be remediated to be a tribute to this, to the author. Okay.
Well, now we're actually going to take a look at one of your videos. So, and I believe we're going to be looking at Schizophrenia, your art piece. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Well, there you have it. That was David Alcorn's piece, Schizophrenia, and now we are joined by our musical guest, John Strollo. John, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
John is actually part of our production crew here at UT Uncut, so we're glad to have him on the other side of the camera this time. Now, John, why don't you talk about yourself a little bit, introduce yourself, your year, where you're from, and how long you've been involved in music.
Well, I'm John. I'm a freshman here. I was born in New York, and then in middle school, came here to Tennessee, and then pretty much there was like nothing to do here. It was really boring, and compared to New York at least. And then so I guess that's how I started getting into instruments. And then yeah, my brother played guitar, and he was always like way better than me, and I could never get as good as him when I tried one, and I sucked at it. So then I tried the drums, and that's what I was able to like beat him over the drums and all that. Mm-hmm. And then we would jam out and stuff like that. And then that's when me and my one friend started jamming out, and that's when we formed our band. And yeah, so that's how I got into playing drums. And now I switched back to guitar, so I do both pretty much. I play guitar by myself, and then drums in my band. So.
Can you hold a candle to your brother now?
Yeah, like he's pretty funny because I text him and stuff like, dude, guess what? I'm going to be on this show, and he's all jealous. Like he's way better at guitar than me, like in musical, but I'm still the one on the show. I have a band. I've played live and stuff. So yeah. I think that's, even though I'm not as good as him, I still have all this. So.
Well, you got the connection, so you can just rub that in his face. Who you know. So
there
you go. Now, why don't you tell us about this band of yours you have for a bit? From what I heard online, it's quite different from what you performed right there.
Yeah, I mean, our band, our style is based off. Our main influences are like, I love Metallica, that's my favorite band, and he loves Muse. And right now it's just the two of us, so he loves Muse, and then stuff like Avenged Sevenfold and like heavier stuff like that is what we get into. And so yeah, like he makes the songs and like makes some pretty, he's only been playing for like 2 years, I think, so he makes some pretty like unique stuff, like out of, what's the word, like, out of like a beginner's eyes. It's like, and then like since I'm more like rounded out with different instruments, I'll like say, oh, fix this part and it'll sound really good. So then that's how we make our songs. And yeah, it's based off heavier music. And then when I was playing, it's just I guess it just came out naturally, because like I don't really listen to acoustic songs or acoustic music, just like heavier stuff. And then I got that guitar for Christmas and just started playing it and got into more I guess just listening to like cover songs of like heavier songs I listen to on acoustic guitar though. Mm-hmm. So then just the stuff I play just came out, so I don't know.
I mean, it had kind of a very raw but emotional sound to it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Now, this band that you're with, do you have a name?
Oh yeah, it's called Stall Out. So
Stall Out?
We have a MySpace. Look it up.
Is it just www.myspace.com/
Stall Out Music, I think. You can just search for it. I don't know.
Now you said you've played shows. Have you been playing shows around in this area, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we started in Tennessee, so then we've played we've played at Farragut High School. I was in ROTC, and we played this stupid show in there for some like fundraiser thing. We completely sucked. It was horrible. But then after that, we started getting better, and then we played. Me, the drummer, and my guitarist and singer Mitchell played for our youth group for church, and everything was all mic'd up, so it sounded a little better, but still we didn't get that much praise for it, I guess. And then after that, we met a bassist who knew the people at Long Branch Saloon here on the Strip, so that's where we played our second latest show, I guess. And people thought that was pretty good too. It's just you couldn't really hear the vocals. So then like a year later, we played there again, and my friends, like, I have one friend who's like super like critical and tells me if I suck or if we suck or not. Right. And then so he actually came to that show and said we were like really awesome. Like, even though we only had I was on drums and Mitchell on guitar and singing. So even though that's all we had, he thought it was like awesome. So right now we're just looking for a bassist and have like a full band. And I met someone at a house party the other day who I think Honey Dutch they're called. They're pretty good. And I asked if we could play like a combo show or something eventually, and they said yeah to it. So I think that would be that's going to be our next show, like, to go out.
Well, sounds good. Well, I hope y'all are able to find a bassist soon, and if y'all are able to book some shows, please post it on your MySpace, because I know that I myself, including a lot of others, would be interested in seeing that. Now, we are going to shift gears real quick and go back to David. We are going to take a look at his piece based off of James Agee, known as A Death in Knoxville. Let's take a look at that.
Hello?
Is this Miss J. Follett?
Hello? What is it? This is she.
Your husband's been in an accident, ma'am, a serious accident.
Well, if the auto was damaged, Jay would probably stay with it. Arrange for repairs.
Is there a man in his family? Some kin could come out here?
Yes, there's my brother. Could I speak to my husband? Could I speak to my husband?
Ask your brother to come to Powell Station.
Either he's badly hurt, but will live and get well, or at worst be invalid somehow. Or he was terribly hurt and will die of it, maybe quite soon. Or he was already gone when the man phoned, but he couldn't be the one to tell me.
Well, that wraps it up today. I'd like to thank our guests, David and John, for coming on to the show. You can check out more of John's music at his MySpace. And be sure to check out the Society of Media Arts Festival at the end of the semester. They'll be screening at the downtown Regal Cinemas. Now, John, why don't you take it away for us? Thanks for watching.
not a cloud in the sky. Those eyes looked right through me, everything felt so right. You said all is dead, we talked through the night. Those eyes looked right through me, everything felt so right. But little did I know that weekend ended, we all went home. And that's when I said, it's time to let go. But try as I might,